Good morning. I am Adora Curry, the founder of Women Come Together, and I want to thank you all for joining us today for our final installment of these conversations that bring business women around the Central Arkansas together to talk about racial reconciliation and all things that boost our business and propel us forward with success. Today, our topic is beyond the hashtags. Where do we go from here? Clearly, in the past couple of months, there's been a lot of racial unrest and a lot of outpouring of support for Black-owned businesses within the community. But as that starts to die down, does that mean that you forget about them, or will you continue with the momentum that has started in supporting these businesses? I've gathered 5 of my great friends who are local business owners to kind of talk about their experiences, their observations, and their perspectives, and to give their insight on what they want to see going forward, what we all can do to support them and their businesses to continue to make sure that they thrive, not only as Black-owned business owners, but also as women who own businesses, because we need to support each other. And so with that, ladies, will you please introduce yourselves, tell us about your companies and what you do, and we will start with Miss Tiffany Baker.
Good morning, ladies. So some of you know me, some of you don't. I am Tiff at the Little Rock Chamber. I focus on minority and women-owned business here in the Central Arkansas region. So that means I go out, I talent search. Primarily, I focus on women businesses. How can I get you connected? How can I network you? And ultimately, how can I help you? And whether it's a business or a nonprofit, how do I help you grow and get connected to the resources that we have here? Because quite frankly, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses here in Central Arkansas have been overlooked or dismissed or not given the tools and resources to succeed. And so that's what I'm here to do.
Sharee.
Good morning, you guys. My name is Sharee Young. I'm the owner of Take Aim Apryl in North Little Rock. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Apryl, but it's just a recreational activity, similar to darts, but with actually hatchets. There are hundreds of venues around the country, and in the last year, we've seen this growth in the state of Arkansas with, across the state. So I typically do corporate events for companies who want to have like a gathering with their team, as well as nights out, special events, and things of that nature. So basically, just come together and have a good time. That's it.
Okay, Miss Apryl.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Apryl Jackson. I'm the owner and principal media strategist for Personality Etc., a brand development and event planning agency. We have been in existence for a couple of years now, and thanks in large part to the Arkansas Women's Business Center for their guidance there. I'm also one of the co-founders of the She's Dope movement. DOPE stands for Defying Obstacles in Pursuit of Excellence. And so a good friend of mine, Tamara Bates, some of you may know her, we started that back in 2017 to help women and the people who support them help us follow through on the things and the dreams that we have. We get so distracted as women sometimes and putting others before ourselves that we forget to follow through on those plans and those dreams and those businesses that we want. And so we took a little bit of time to put that together and start an online presence, as well as some social events where you could come and follow through on something, whether that was getting connected with someone that you needed to design something, getting a headshot. Instead of just a networking event where you got to meet new faces, you got a takeaway from that, because we value your time and we know how valuable time is. So that was our biggest thing for She's Dope. And then as for Personality Etc., whatever you need basically from brand development, like concept, incubating that and taking it all the way up to implementation and events to let people know who you are, what you do, and the experiences you provide for them. We take care of all of that in-house.
Very cool. And Key.
Good morning, y'all. I am Key with KeyFit Life. I'm the owner of KeyFit Life. a wonderful way for women to get healthy without having to leave the house. It started as a struggle that I had being a mom and being busy as you all are, and really wanting to go to the gym and holding that gym membership for like 3 years and not really using it. And so I said, wow, I'm really into fitness. And so I got my certifications, and I continued to struggle because I couldn't get to the gym. And I said, I know I cannot be alone. And so I started my own virtual gym. And so it has grown to have right now 6 trainers that is included with KeyFit Life. And we provide everything you need. And our women roll out of bed and they're set scarves and caps, and they get right in front of that screen and they push play, and there's an instructor right there with them, pushing them and encouraging them. And so women all around the world log on to KeyFit Life and get healthy. And so not only do we provide workouts, we also provide meal plans and recipes and tips and support, also a private online support group. And just what's amazing is that in the midst of COVID, we developed KeyFit Life Kids. Again, as a struggle I saw with my daughter, not being able to go to school and get that healthy exercise and support that she needed, it spun out of that. And so during COVID, when school was in, we provided free resources for parents to be able to have their kids log on and work out with me and my daughter. And we're also expanding that into the fall. And so we are working with teachers and schools and homeschool groups to be able to provide resources so that they can get the curriculum, the PE curriculum for their kids, because our kids' health is just as important as our health. So that's me.
Awesome. And I do want to say, I'm a tried and true person. She very encouragingly got me to the top and down Pinnacle Mountain. So thankful for that. And last but certainly not least, my lovely friend, Miss Vernice.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for having this forum, Adora and Women's Influencers. I appreciate being here. You guys may know me from the Women's Influencers community as being a mobile notary, which I've been doing for the past 2 years. But I came to Arkansas in 2014 to work with my father's family construction business. We do construction painting. And so my business expertise comes in from the painting perspective, which I've been using and testing some of those techniques also on the mobile notary. So I'm glad to share. I'm happy to share any of the resources that I have, which help me grow and operate both of those businesses.
Well, thank you, ladies, again for being here. Clearly, there's a diverse set of skill sets here, and a lot of interesting perspectives I can tell are going to come out from our conversation today. So for those of you who are out there watching, feel free to chime into the comments, and we will try to pull up as many of those as we can to incorporate in the conversation. What happens is we have 6 questions that have been pre-curated by our panelists, and they will take turns responding to those. They'll have about 3 minutes each. And they will respond to the ones they feel most comfortable with. They might respond to all, or they might just respond to a few. But again, those of you that are out there watching, go ahead and participate in this conversation, or take a moment to go grab somebody or text somebody and tell them they need to log on. And so with that, question number 1, how has your business been impacted since COVID-19 and in the midst of all of this racial unrest? Whoever wants to jump out there first can.
I'd like to say something about that first. In terms of the racial unrest, I don't know how anyone cannot be impacted by that. Seeing the images of George Floyd and, just the cop with his foot on his neck, I don't know how you could not be impacted. And so first I would say, if you haven't been impacted, then I would ask yourself why. Is it because of, privilege in any form? And so whether that's privilege because of your race or your social status or your proximity to injustice, I would really ask why. And if your life hasn't changed, then I would implore you to look around your boardrooms, your office, your ministries at church, your social media pages, anything that you participate in and in your communities, and ask yourself, is there equity there? Is there equity there? Are we giving the space to make sure that everybody is included. And if your spaces aren't made up of people of color, then I would implore you to get busy and to start to do that. And until we light up the darkness and build relationships outside of what we know, then we will continue to see things like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Trayvon Martin and Ahmaud Arbery. So in my business, yes, it has been impacted because of the racial and social unrest, but it's because I made it my business for my business to be impacted. And so I would just encourage all the women out there to make it your business, for your business to be impacted by that. And so what we've done is, especially right after the Ahmaud Arbery incident, we started having slow flow yoga sessions. And so those were great yoga sessions that were just focused on how we deal with collective trauma and how do we deal with that even inside of our own self. Because a lot of us, even during COVID, right, we've been really stressed and there's been a lot going on and we've been continuing, but sometimes you need to slow down. And so we have sessions to just deal with collective trauma. And then also I have another instructor who does dance, and she really just wanted to get that frustration out. And so she had songs that spoke to injustice and songs that spoke to the movement. But this also really came out of me pushing them to do that, but giving them the space to be able to also creatively express themselves. And then also when we had blackout days, my business supported that. And then overall on my own personal social media page, I have made it my business to not be silent. A lot of times in business as women, we are afraid to say something because we don't know how it's going to impact my business. But at the end of the day, I am a woman, I'm a Black woman, and I can't be silent about it. And so even on my personal pages, I've made it my business to begin to have more conversations and to put things out there.
Key, I absolutely love that you said, make it our business. And I couldn't agree more with you. For me in particular, I'm Native American, but when people see me outside looking in, they see perceptually a certain race or a certain image in their head. But I've been at the chamber now almost a year. And when I took this job, I intentionally made it my responsibility. I'm from Texas, born and raised. My degree is public administration and poli-sci. And in college, that was really my wake-up call to the inequities, to the systematic racism in our country. And we got to understand this, the last couple of months facing two pandemics at one time, really is the culmination of 400 years of social unrest, of injustice, of slavery, of PTSD. So all of these things into account, and then you put that on a business aspect. I think it's more crucial now than ever we as women unite and come together. But like you said, if we're not having those difficult conversations with ourselves, you know, what type of privilege do I have? What's my mindset? What do I need to reevaluate in myself so that we can all move forward, move together? I think for me, as horrible of a timing of all of this is with the two pandemics, I've really looked at it and changed my mindset that this is a huge opportunity. We're all waking up as a country. We're waking up as women of color. We're waking up in the Black community. And now is such a pivotal moment for us to unite, to really propel and leverage that movement to grow and to bring our community together.
And I'd love to chime in on that too, based off of what both you, Tiffany and Key said. The one thing that I found is the internal conversations I'm having within my own circles about our respective stances within the movement. There's we're conscious to make a united front to the world, but we know that in the background and on the inside, we have to pull each other's coattail and say, hey, we can do better in this way, or how can we contribute in this way? And one thing that I was especially sensitive to was, I know it's the Black lives, but it's women of color, or I'm sorry, people of color, period. Because the worldwide attention that the movement made let me know that that people all over the world are responding to police brutality and overreach, not necessarily, and for brown people all over the place. So I was especially sensitive to that, including the ICE, which is still, there's really not much traction there. but it probably should be. And I'm looking forward to supporting some kind of movement in that way, because that is seriously a sad situation. And just kind of move off on the COVID, I was unsure what to expect, but I appreciate seeing how other businesses responded by moving virtual platforms, creating sanitation spaces, responding to the need for PPE and facial masks. So that was really helpful. And the women's groups that we were all a part of, they responded and reacted immediately. And for problems that people were having, I didn't really understand that those were issues for them, and even the solutions that they came up with, the groups came up with. So I thought that was really nice to see how people pulled together and supported each other in that way, in the pandemic and in the protests as well.
So for me, when I looked at this question, I took it from a totally different standpoint. But I'm gonna address some things and like stay in the same vein as some of the other panelists. But I have struggled a lot with the social injustices and racial unrest in our country, and knowing exactly how I want to be a part of attacking the situation. It is not a struggle that has left me paralyzed in the sense I've done nothing, but I've been very intentional and very strategic about it. And I've gotten some, I think it's interesting because everybody was talking about putting things on their social media and stuff like that. And I've not been one to share a lot of stuff on my social media, not because I'm not involved or because I don't care, but because I was more concerned about doing the work as opposed to like sharing it, if you will. And there's some spaces that I've been again, privileged to sit in with some different connections and things like that, where some of those conversations could not be shared on social media. But I encourage those who have chosen not to share, please continue to have those conversations and things, and look for a space to do that, which leads me to She's Dope. We started a series, Dope Discussions, as things kind of turned or things became more aware of the world became more aware of what was going on as far as racial tension and social unrest and all those things. And it got put on pause because a large part of our tribe, as we call them, was like, I'm getting it here, I'm getting it there. I just kind of need a space for some positivity and somewhere to be. And so we took on the responsibility of just putting out a lot of self-care, and what that could look like for anyone on any level, because some people think that self-care is all about going out and going shopping, and it's like, well, I can't go shopping and do all that stuff, so what can I do? We took that and to turn it into the other aspect of COVID, but we took these 2 times to let people know that it is definitely okay to not be okay. It is okay to look at what you're doing and think, hey, I want to try something different, or I want to start that business, or I really want to dive into my relationship and see how I can be a better partner for my person. And so our social media reflected a whole lot of that. And we got some questions. We most definitely got some questions about, well, how come you're not at the protest and you're not doing this and all those things. And so I was like, it wasn't what our tribe needed at that time. And then as far as personality, et cetera, goes, we've become, it was helpful for us to get more intentional and help people learn how to focus in on what their brand really needed to survive in this area. And so that's what we've been focusing on during both pandemics that are happening.
I know
and
we need
Sharee,
to move
did you want to close us out?
Yeah, did you guys, can you hear me?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes,
okay,
perfectly.
Wonderful. Apryl said 99% of the path that I've been on as it relates to this too. I could really identify with that. Another big part of my life, I'm like a social worker, so mental health is always a filter by which I view the world. And so a lot of times I'm always looking at when we're at crisis points in our personal lives and in our national lives, what do people need to rise from this situation or move forward with their mind intact, yes. There's several you mentioned, like PTSD. I heard Tiffany say that collective PTSD and just the trauma of watching people get brutally murdered in broad daylight. I mean, that's not okay. And so focusing on our mental health and realizing there's a lot of different ways for us to impact change. This is not the time for us to be evaluating anybody else's road and their impact and what they are doing, but to focus on where we can have an impact and where we feel called to on the wall. So anyway, that's definitely where I've been with that. And as a business, I'm a business where we gather in groups. So I've definitely been impacted by COVID, but it's also been a lot more private events. And so it's been a little bit more intimate, and I've appreciated that. One of the things I've learned about life is when there's a lot of pressure, it tells you what that particular thing that's under pressure, what's in it, and what it's capable of. And so I look at our nation, as sad as everything is, as far as the social and racial unrest, it is showing us in great detail what is in our country, what is in us individually, what is in our social groups, what is in our churches, what is in our businesses. And so we need that information. We need to hit rock bottom for real this time. And so I'm hoping that it's an opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for us to actually do this right for our kids. That's it.
Amen to that. Definitely. Because we do have a generation that is watching us and taking cues from us on how to be. And this is the best time, if never before, to lead by example, to set the pace for them. And so on that, we're going to move on to question number 2, which is, as a woman of color or a Black woman in business, what are some of the obstacles you faced getting to where you are in your career? And if none, because I know some people say it was just easy and I just had buku money and I just jumped out there and got started. No, really. What have you observed?
So, where have you found those people, Adora? Because I have not met her. She has not come to me. Can she give some tips? I'm just trying to understand what's happening here.
Okay, so well then obviously we've faced some obstacles. So tell me what some of your obstacles have been. And one thing I will tell those of you out there watching is that this endeavor is my baby. It's my brainchild, and it's been something that's been on my heart for decades, but I just didn't have the courage to do it. One thing Apryl said is that being through this whole COVID situation has given people the courage to jump out there and go after their dreams. And this is one of them. So from what you're saying, I'm learning from you because you're helping me to take these notes to build my brand. And I hope that those of you that are out there watching are benefiting from this as well. So with that, go ahead, ladies, and chime in. What obstacles have you faced?
Since I kind of did that there, I guess I'll jump in right here. But I basically, when I read that question, I was just like, I've had a lot of good support. I can definitely say that I've had a lot of good support. So I wanted to talk about the internal struggles that we have to overcome oftentimes. We're doing that Women's Empowerment Challenge right now all over social media with the black and white photos. And my caption last night, I was just like, it wasn't that someone told me that I couldn't, just nobody ever told me that I could either. So I have great parents and great family and friends and stuff like that. But part of them not telling me that I could was me not speaking up about what was going on. And so as far as like those internal obstacles, a lot of the things that I have faced as a business owner and still working a 9-to-5 or whatever the case may be, is trying to do a lot of that stuff by myself, like thinking that I had to, have my hands in everything, or, sometimes they say we can be a little bit controlling, and I was like, well, I don't want to be controlling, but I do want things to be done a certain way, and there's nothing wrong with setting a standard. And so I just want to give somebody that piece of advice. You don't have to do it all by yourself, but do make sure you get people on your team that understand your standard of how you want to be portrayed to the public and the impact you want to have long term. And then because I am a brand development person, anytime somebody was like, oh yeah, I need you, I was putting their business before my own. And so it was easy for me to get weeks behind on developing my own website or posting things on my own social media because I was making sure that everything got posted on everybody else's. And so again, with COVID, I had a chance to, and like, it was almost like the world gave me permission to sit down and be like, so put your own stuff together so that you can do this at the standard of excellence that you've, kind of mentored other people to do it. And then I would say the last thing would be probably figuring out where space I fit into with other Black women business owners. My personality doesn't always, I've been told that I'm an alpha female, and I was like, not really. I'm kind of really sensitive and an introvert. I just know how to be in a room and do the thing, right? And so I used to, when I would interact with other business owners or other women's business owners, I wouldn't promote myself like I would encourage somebody else to promote myself or train my pageant girls to promote themselves. And I would be like, sis, why are you talking so aggressively to me? And it wouldn't even be that she was talking aggressive. She had found the confidence that I was seeking and, that internal confidence. And she was very proud to share her accomplishments and her things. And it was just like, so it took some time for me to get in the mirror and be like, okay, so you're going to step into it or you're going to continue to be tired and this cycle will be here and, your business won't exactly flourish like you had the vision for. And so again, I'm kind of grateful to COVID for doing that. And that's something I said I would take out of COVID. I'm never looking for someone else or something else to give me permission to do what I need to for myself. And so I think we have to take that into our business. So.
And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Apryl said in terms of obstacles. I think for me, the obstacle that I face is probably the obstacle that is here because of the kind of country we live in. And that's the failure of others to acknowledge my existence and to create space at the table for us. And so the perfect example of that is this year, we always want to see who's on the Fortune 500 company list, right? And so, of course, as a Black woman, I'm always looking to see where we are. And so there are 33 companies that are ran by white women this year, and there are none ran by women of color. And then I look around even in Central Arkansas and I look at the boards and the executive teams and the businesses right here in Little Rock, and I see no women of color. Mm-hmm. And so I am navigating in the world that wasn't created for me, and I've got the stats to prove it. Yes. And so there's this myth that we don't exist or that we're not interested. But Black women were here, but these obstacles are obstacles of representation. And so for me, representation, it helps to create self-worth. We're trying to create a foundation, or really we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors for young women as well to show that they're important or as important just as any other race. But when there's not that self-representation out there, then you're wondering, can you do it? Can you start that business? And so we need our own spaces to create our own representation. So that means not what dominant culture thinks that it should be. So that's not white culture creating something and then forcing us to step into it. But for us, it's being able to create our own space and then white culture stepping into that. And so what that does is it encourages society to accept other races and other ideas as common and mainstream. And then it's not, oh, that's just that Black women's event. No, it's an event that was created by Black women, but all cultures are invited. And so I think one of the things that I struggle with is representation and seeing that there's space at the table for women that look like me.
Man, you just said a word. Go for it, Vernice. I'm like, I am so excited by this conversation. Let me tell you, I feel like everybody needs to watch this every month just to get your planning for the month. This is awesome. I'm empowered. Go ahead, Vernice.
Well, and I definitely want to piggyback off of those two things because as I was preparing for this conversation, there's a couple of things. One is, as Apryl said, the lack of information and resources. Now, I do understand that other cultures experience this lack as well. But there are some conversations that I just did not know, or resources I just did not know that existed. There was a thing on Facebook the other day. I don't know if I should say that. I'll come back to it. But when I came to Arkansas, I didn't have any resources, so I had to figure out everything. So if I would have stayed in my hometown and done a business, I would have worked with this thing that I knew, that thing and that thing. But since I was brand new to the state, I just had to walk into buildings and say, hey, this is what I want to do. How can you help me? What resources do you have to push me in that direction? And the first place I walked in was the SBA. And they were and obviously those programs and resources are so much bigger than I was right then, but they led me to the directions where I can build on that. And I've typed up a few resources and I'm going to put them in the chat. But it started off with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. And then it went to the Arkansas Small Business Technology Center. The Chamber of Commerce had great programs, and even a minority program where, and then even if you don't walk in and get a specific resource directly related to your business, you can always get, you can meet people who can give you ideas and feed into that. And so we have been so fortunate from all the resources that have come into. I tell people that if you come to Arkansas and you want to sell popsicle sticks, Arkansas would be like, okay, yeah, let's go set you up a popsicle stick stand in the store and get you going. And the other thing that Key said is about creating businesses that encourage mainstream to bend to our businesses. And I'm just going to be truthful here, and it kind of hurts my feelings to say this, but usually when there's a Black business, we can find soul food restaurants, barbecue restaurants, beauty supplies, beauty shops, barber shops, shea butters, those kind of things. But if I wanted some other kind of resource, I would have a hard time finding a business of color that would offer that. There's usually not a database or a resource or something like that where you can find everyday items. Like if I wanted a flower, some flowers or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I could just ask the group, but it takes so much more energy to do that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't take the energy, but I'm just saying if you're in a rush, when I spend most of my money, it's in the rush, not in the time to research it. So I would love to see a resource for different item or demographics or things for the businesses that exist. And then, Mike. Well, while we have this pause too, I did make a note here where I said, I believe is that somebody? There's some background noise coming in. Well, I believe that that classism is just as hurtful as racism in a lot of our communities and our businesses. And so that's probably a more difficult problem to address than racism because you can't really see classism, but it does affect us. So, okay, I'm passing the mic.
Absolutely. Tiffany looks like she's itching to say something, and then Sharee will close us out again. Go ahead.
So I'll jump in here and say, personally, my biggest obstacle was me getting in the way of myself. Throughout my 10 years of, being into corporate America and the different jobs that I've done, whether it was branch manager at Enterprise or private contractor for Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and ultimately led me here. I was running from my purpose. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to do it. I mean, civil rights, civil equity, that has been my passion for at least 15 years. And not knowing quite how I wanted to do it, or really just surrendering to the will of God, not to go to church or anything, but just surrendering to the will of God, and me getting in the way of myself, almost blocking my own calling, my own purpose. And so finally surrendering and saying, okay, God, this is what you're calling me to do. This is how you want me to do it. I'm supposed to stand in the door. I'm supposed to bridge a gap. I'm supposed to make this bridge over water so we can open up the door for more Black businesses, brown businesses, women businesses. Because frankly, no one has ever taken this approach here in the chamber specifically But coming from Texas and a Black community in Texas, I see, like we're talking about, the representation factor. There's not enough women at the table. There's not enough women of color at the table. We need more. And so really taking it upon myself, how do I create this safe space? How do I get them a seat at the table? And how do I give a voice to those that haven't had a voice and been stood up for? A couple of you guys know me. I'm pretty bold and I can be outspoken at times, and I'm okay with asking the tough questions. I'm okay with maybe rubbing someone wrong. Because at the end of the day, they'll know what I'm saying is out of love, and it'll be fine. I don't mind ruffling a few feathers, but just standing in the way of myself. And I can say for the first time in 10 years, this is the first time I have walked in my purpose professionally, personally, and truly feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Sharee. What do you have for us?
This is a complex question, and man, I just really feel like we all need to have coffee, because y'all are just, I'm like, where do I add to this? There's so much when you talk about obstacles. For me, and once, the first obstacle for me has been to reject narratives that no longer support where I'm trying to go. I wouldn't consider, I came from a loving family. If I call somebody in my family right now, they'll do what they can to help. So it wasn't that there were really direct opposition, but there wasn't a lot of representation. I think I was of that generation in my mid 40s that believed a narrative about college and jobs and, stability and all of those different things. And there's nothing wrong with that. I happen to have a job also in addition to my business that I love. But let's be honest, the legacy that I'm trying to build for my family, my job is not going to help me build it. A traditional employment is not designed to help you stabilize your family at that level. It's designed to accomplish the goal of the institution or company that you work for. And I'm not mad about being a part of that vision, but when I rejected the narrative that I needed to be safe and decided that I needed to fight for the legacy I wanted for my children, so these kids can stop saying we don't see us. For them to see us, we're going to have to be out there. And so for me, that was the biggest obstacle. And of course, I chose a business, and this is another conversation for another day. And people are like, so you like Axis that much? And I'm like, you're missing the big picture. This is an opportunity. This is not about Axis. So as a woman taking on a business that no one would expect it to be me. I still have people walking to take aim and they're like, you're the person that owns it? I'm not, sometimes we have extended conversations about that. So I guess for me, the number one thing is rejecting the narrative, being willing to take the risk, fighting for what's important, and so that's probably what I would say to that.
Sharee, we came in, me and my girl group before COVID, and we had so much fun. Oh my God, if y'all haven't gone, you should go. It was amazing. And it was a cherry on the top that it was a Black owned business, but I knew it was Black owned and woman owned because I intentionally sought out your business. It was awesome.
That's rad. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to question 3, and I'm going to combine it a little bit with question 5 because they're very similar. It says, what can women do to support one another in this industry as opposed to competing with each other? And what I'm going to tag on to that is, like, how do you approach mentorship or networking or growing your client base?
All right, I'll kick it off. How about that? All right, well, for me, mentorship, I always promote collaboration, always. Whether it's a business that's doing the exact same thing that I do, I'll say, listen, maybe I can't handle it, or maybe this person is closer to you, or maybe they have better prices or a specialty service that I don't offer. And then that allows me to work into my specialty and then build that bridge. Because there are many times where I'm overwhelmed. And if I try to take on all that business or whatever, because I'm happy to get it, I'm probably going to mess it up, and I'm probably not going to give the best service to that client. So I would much rather give it to you. And then ideally, in turn, if you need some help, then I'm here for you. And then that allows us to see how well we work with each other as well. And you may have a set of resources that I don't have. And then we can combine those resources. Also, like Sharee said, if we sit down and have coffee, we can find ways that we can make each of our individual businesses better, and things like that. Let's see, and I'll just say this, in my painting business, when my target market is commercial projects, but my website brings a lot of residential projects. And so usually, in order to be a resource to that customer, then I say, listen, our prices are probably going to be too high for you. You know, you found me because I pay for marketing and I have insurance and things like that. And so my overhead is probably already going to be more than you're willing to spend. And I have to do that to maintain those commercial projects. But I'll share the people who I would hire to do it, and you can work with them that way. But it's not covered under any guarantees or warranties. That's something strictly for you, between you and them. Then when I have a bigger project, then the people who I referred work to, then they're willing to come in and help me so that I can meet whatever timeline or deadline I get. And that way everybody's served. The customer's served, my subs are served, and then I'm able to complete my project on time. And then I'll just move into how do I approach mentorship and networking. Man, there's so many cool groups. Apryl, I love your concept here. If you hire somebody to do the work that you cannot do or don't do very well, it's their specialty. Let them do it. When I paid for marketing and things like that, I've gotten some of the biggest contracts that I'm sure that I wouldn't have got. When I make my own website, I get 50 people to come to my site. But when I pay for a website, I get big commercial firms from all over the country that are saying, hey, send me this. And that really helped us grow our business. So I'm happy for that. These life coaches, and I'm going to put a list of the life coaches that I know of specifically in the women's influencers or whatever. They'll help you see things in yourself that you didn't know that you can offer. Sharee, that Axe Store thing, I'm all for it, okay? Or whatever. So, but however you determined that there was a need for that or an opportunity for that, the life coach or even the other resources can help you see where there's a market for that and how you can bring that thing to fruition. So I'm going to pass the mic now and let somebody else share.
For me, when I think about how can we support each other as women, I take that, the grandmama, the Southern grandmama approach. Everybody's welcome at the table. I got potato salad, I got chicken, I've got green beans, like everybody. There's so much food and there is enough for everybody to eat. And so I am always I'm doing a project right now and I'm so proud that the project, everybody on it are people of color, but that's very intentional because I want people at the table to eat. I want all of us to go away with a nice big full belly. And so I'm always trying to promote and support and push other people, women of color and Black folks, because I want us to thrive. So when it comes to other Black women businesses, I'm always trying to share and support. In terms of networking and mentorship, and growing your business. Listen, I always tell people, I don't know about you, but I ain't trying to be the best kept secret. I'm telling everybody about KeyFit Life, but really it's because I really believe in it and I'm really passionate about it. And so if you probably spend any amount of time with me, you're going to hear me talking about, health and fitness and all that stuff because I'm passionate about it. I know what it's like to be over 200 pounds and to lose that weight. I know what it's like to be a busy mom and not have that on your, not have it on your schedule and being able to fit it in. And so it really becomes a part of who I am. And so my brand and a part of who I am is I take it everywhere with me. So I really am a walking networking system. But another thing that I want to say is there's nobody else like you. I know that Vernice kind of mentioned this, like nobody, if there's so much to where you can give it to somebody else, pass it along. There's nobody that can beat you being you. So even if you give it to somebody else, you're not going to miss your blessings. You're not going to miss your opportunities. In terms of mentorship, I look at it in a very different way, especially as a Black woman, because sometimes there are very few that are, at the very top. And if they are, they're probably taken. They've probably got people that they're, mentoring. And so maybe you don't necessarily have to get mentorship for one person, but maybe you glean a little bit from several different women. And so you put together, this cadre of women who you can use to help you be successful. But I think that mentorship is extremely important, because just like a life coach, they can sometimes help you see things that you don't see in yourself. Sometimes when you're just with your peers, they tell you what you want to hear and they support you. But sometimes when you have that mentor who's been around and that they've done more, they're able to see more. And so I always like to say that what I do is not hard work. It is hard work. I absolutely love it. I put my all into it. But having that mentor who can guide you for me is very important. I'm so excited that I actually just I got a new mentor, and I'm excited to see kind of the things that she shares with me. But for sure, that's very important. So I'm gonna shut up because I'm starting to ramble.
I'm gonna jump in there because Key, a lot of what you said, I was already thinking to get ready to say. But coming from Texas and seeing the business environment here with the competitive spirit, I want to speak on that for a second, because here the Little Rock metro market is a little different. There is a huge case of competitiveness, whether it be among women or just business owner, period. And I spend so much of my time as investor development doing business consulting and talking to different business owners like, look, I don't care if there's 10 other businesses in the same exact category as you. No one is going to do it the way you do it. Key, like you said, you're passionate about it. So what you bring to the table as your business, no one else can replicate that. No one can duplicate what you bring. So like you said, there's enough out here for us to all eat, to all sit at the table and walk away, having to unbutton or loosen the slacks a little bit. It's here. It's how do we collab and how do we work together collectively, because we don't have to compete. And for me in particular, at the chamber, there's so many resources for mentorship, networking. I mean, what we do, what we're all about is business development, it's marketing, it's access to resources. And at the end of the day, it's exposure. How do you boost your business so that you do have a reputation? How do you get connected? And on the mentorship opportunity part, I think there's different mentors for different categories. So whether it's personal growth, spiritual growth, business growth, they say the 5 people in your circle is who you replicate. So really taking a look at your immediate circle and say, does this person push me? And how Apryl helps me grow isn't going to be the same way that Sharee helps me grow, isn't going to be the same way for Vernice. Each person is going to add a different context to you. So having a spiritual guidance, having business guidance, having personal development, I think that's important to have multiple mentors.
So as everybody has been talking, oh no, we lost Sharee. Maybe hopefully she'll come back. But as everyone has been talking, support takes a certain level of self-awareness, right? Like if we get down into the weeds of like, how come we can't really support each other or we don't really support each other as women, it takes a certain level of self-awareness to know that I'm okay if I hand off this piece of business to someone else. It's okay if that's not my area of expertise. I don't want to be known as a jack of all trades and a master of none, because at that point you begin to get mediocre things. You begin to get mediocre products, and people know you as a person that she does good, but. And like, you don't ever want that to become your namesake or what's attached to you. She does good, but, and like, that was something that I had to realize too. It's like, oh, I've got a little bit of knowledge here and a little bit of knowledge here. And most of us have just a little bit of knowledge to be dangerous in most areas. And that danger is typically self-harm, because our reputation begins to kind of dwindle a little bit or what have you, or we start undercutting ourselves by, oh, well, I know Key said she'll do it for this amount, so I'm going to drop it, a couple of dollars and try to take that from her. The universe does not reward manipulative behavior. Let me just tell you. And so when God has given you a gift and he put it in you to go back into the universe and share that with other people, there is no need for you to undermine the next person and not be able to share that. I'm going to look at my notes because I'm a nerd and I wrote things down to share this morning because I will forget. But the other things that for that question, booking with each other, I think we've definitely covered that. Making sure we give public reviews, like those public reviews, I think are something that we fall short on. Like we'll tag a person as a thank you post, but we don't take the time to really say or invest in our sister friend that this conversation was phenomenal because, or it was productive of my time because. Giving criticism and feedback behind closed, like especially if it's negative, giving it behind closed doors, like do not hang your sister friend out to dry on social media. That does not do a good thing for you or her. That's
Say it again for the people in the back,
Listen, let me
April.
look.
Say it again.
Leave it closed. Don't look, sis. Don't do that. Do not don't hang her out to dry on social media. That's not cute. Or in your group text, or in women's influencer or whatever. Screenshots are real and they come back. I just want to put that out there. That wasn't a part of my statement, but that is something that people need to know. Talk to us. Fine. Let's debrief. We forget that piece in the plan often. We got to debrief about what was good, what was bad, how can I help you grow, how can you help me grow. But again, that takes that level of self-awareness. And then we were talking about mentorship. I'm a person who does a lot of research and education. Like I love to learn more about my craft and the people that I'm serving and studying the qualities of my target audience. Like that's one thing that makes PE really unique. I have a degree in counseling, and that whole like emotional connection and identity development, that plays major factors into how your brand will connect with your target audience and understanding where they come from. So make sure you do the education and the research. That's kind of been my mentor. I don't have a go-to person. I kind of, as Tiffany was saying, glean a little bit from everyone. I have taken copious amounts of notes during this. Glean a little bit from everyone as they talk. And then with networking, I would just say, on the good and bad side of networking, go out, talk, promote yourself. Most definitely live your brand, as Key mentioned earlier in the conversation. But please be very careful of the people that you connect with. This is something that I've personally experienced. Some people do not have the intention of connecting with you in a positive manner. They may just want to pick your brain and take your idea. And so I think you have to be aware of motivations and intentions, and then know that it is not your job to seek revenge on that person if they so happen to walk away with your idea. Leave that in the hands of the master of the universe. Okay, that is not our job. So again, that's a way for people to hang folks out to dry on social media. That's not what we need in our life. So make sure that you employ those networking events and be bold and step out there and do that. But start with that level of self-awareness before you decide that you are going to go out and support that sister friend, so that you know that your intentions are pure and you're putting that positivity back into the universe.
Absolutely. And I want to underline, and then Sharee, you'll have the final comment. What April is saying is kind of what Key said with her analogy about all the food at the table. There's plenty for everyone to eat. So you don't have to go out there and undercut someone else's business or, take them down in pursuit of your own, because we should all want everybody to thrive. We don't want to see anybody at the bottom. And if you do, then you might need to, self-inspect. Go ahead, Sharee.
Just wow. You guys, that was so much of what you said, just amazing. I will also add, if competition is based on this sense that you can control something when you're competing with other people, and that's really not true. We have less control than we think we do, as far as, well, that's another conversation. For me, I focus on, if I'm gonna compete with somebody, it's Sharee, okay? I'm competing with myself. Am I getting better from season to season? I think it was Dr. Seuss that, I think this is in my office too. There's no one who's more youer than you, and that is not more truer than true, something like that. No one else can beat me. So I'm not concerned about how well you do what you do, because you can't be me. I can appreciate what you do. My focus is on what I do. And being focused like that keeps me from getting distracted, discouraged. And like what April said, when you are tearing people down or trying to steal and take and all of that, I don't have time to put that kind of seed in the ground. I'm I believe in sowing and reaping, and I'm trying to put into the earth the type of fruit I want to enjoy. And so I'm not, that doesn't benefit us. And as far as mentorship, like so many of you have said, I really believe I can be in any setting, and it can be a child, it can be a professional, it can be male, female, they can look like me, not look like me. And I can, if they have something for me, I want to get it. So I walk into spaces and interactions with people under the mindset if there's something for me to gain or something for me to give, we can have that exchange. I have not done well with formalized mentoring, but there's this, and I can find it and send it to Adora, a personal board of directors, similar to what Apryl said too, different people serving different functions in your life. And we have to be open. Sometimes we get hung up because the people that we want to mentor us or who we think should be there for us, they're not there. But we have to be open to whoever those people that serve as our personal board of directors. They may look like us, they may not look like us. They may be male, they may be female, they may be young, they may be old, they may be in a whole different profession. But in that season of life, are you open to what that person has to offer you, especially if it's for you? So that's kind of how I approach mentorship.
I love it. Okay, and so as we're kind of starting to close this out, this is our final question. There has obviously been an outpouring of support for Black-owned and minority-led businesses lately. How can we ensure that this momentum continues as we go into the fall and into 2021?
Okay. Vernice, I think it was you that said this. How do we make a database with all of the Black-owned businesses? And so there is one centralized place to access and support our Black-owned businesses. That is definitely at the forefront of my mind and a lot of what I'm doing right now. Again, I was doing it before COVID hit, but now that we're really in this space, again, trying to leverage beyond the hashtag, how do we move this forward? First and foremost, please, please, please register to vote. Please register to vote. Our country is at this moment of hate and division, and we have to vote in our November election. It's 90 days away. We have to vote. So if you're not registered to vote, please do. Second of all, your Chamber of Commerce. Your Chamber of Commerce, particularly the Little Rock Chamber, is the largest networking business. We're a nonprofit, but we're the largest networking organization in the state. We have over 2,000 members. Of 2,000 members, that encompasses 134,000 employees. Why would you not have a voice with the organization and get connected? It's a tax write-off. And so I'm going to sit here and I implore everyone, if you have not joined your chamber, please join the chamber. I don't care what chamber. I prefer the Little Rock Chamber so that I can directly be your account manager and intentionality. That's everything that I do is I'm intentional about, okay, Apryl, what you need as your nonprofit, She's Dope, you need to get connected with this company, this company, this company. So right off the bat, I am intentionally making these introductions, whether it be soft or hard, in person or over Zoom, and going out of my way. Key, you said I'm passion driven. You're talking about your business and how your passion and purpose drives that whole business. That's the same thing. Like, I think we all have different roles, and that goes back to the key players. You know, I don't care if you're out here protesting. I don't care if you're at the board table. I don't care. We all have different roles. And when you recognize your role and you can apply that role, there's power in that, because now we all have different pieces of the puzzle moving together to accomplish the goal. But a database, I think it's so important. And that's why I would love all of you to join my team to make sure that I can hands-on help you grow. But it is here. It's a tax write-off. It goes straight back to the business. Why would you not leverage those opportunities, those resources? And so much goes back into you business development speaking and give you a voice and a seat at the table.
And so the part that I would add to that is, you know, immediately people think, oh, go and use their products and services. And of course, I want you to, you know, use KeyFit Life. I want, if I'm for you. But I do recognize that everybody is not my client. And so that's a whole nother story. Everybody ain't for you. Like, you got to know who your audience is and stick with that and be confident in that. But that's for another time. But supporting us also means seeing us as equals and experts. Okay, not just consuming our skills and services, but seeing us as thought leaders, supporting the creativity and the business plans and making sure that that is long term. Okay, that is what we need to really grow our business and propel us into the future. That's what's going to give Black businesses longevity. You know, how are you leveraging your personal power, your social capital? Are you investing with? Are you partnering with? Are you developing with Black entrepreneurs? Are you, when you're thinking through things, are you reading and taking part in things that are led by Black leaders, Black experts, Black entrepreneurs? And then also developing an anti-racist lens of how you see people into your daily life and in self-reflection. And so those are the things that I would say that would really help us. And so just being really intentional and being really inclusive about your daily practices and how you interact with Black businesses.
There's so much that Key just said that if we could unpack, like, I was like, there's not enough time. But I think this is definitely something that we have to kind of attack in a trifold manner to continue the support beyond the hashtag. There are a lot of moving pieces, or a lot of people who I think I'll just label them kind of social activists, if you will, that are trying to make these things happen. And they're moving individually. And I think we as people of color are going to have to come together as one, like get one. Like, we don't have a Medgar, we don't have a Martin, we don't have a Malcolm. Like, we need to figure out the path that's going to keep us unified and get it all in one space so that we can do that. I think that would be part one of that. Part two, a lot of Black owned businesses just don't have good promotion. Like, they're there, they've been in business for a while. And we won't even limit it to Black owned. We can say people of color. There are a lot of people of color that have great businesses, great products to offer, great services to offer, and they just don't have good marketing. And so if you know them, you can definitely send them in this direction, but I'm saying, like, help them promote themselves in a positive light, and have, again, that criticism conversation off the record, if you will. And then number three, I think that that reinvesting in self is what's going to keep it long term. There's some things out there that we can't control. We can challenge people to not have that anti-racist lens. And that, again, that takes that level of self-awareness. You got to acknowledge the fact that you have inherent racism in you, or inherent biases, inherent privilege, and educating our counterparts on how they've been brought up and how things have tainted their view of what interactions with people of color could be, and then encouraging them and supporting them to continue to encourage us, but not letting that just be the final nail in the coffin. Like, well, we can't get them to support us, so now what? We have to continue to support each other. So again, I think that's definitely trifold, like getting unified, getting that good promotion out there, and then again, as Key said, like being intentional for long-term support of what's happening with businesses of color, because there's a lot, like Benito from the Arkansas Innovation Hub, the Regional Innovation Hub. They now have their Black-owned business spotlights on Saturdays, but then there's also someone who started trying to catalog all the Black therapists in the state of Arkansas. And then there's someone who was trying to catalog all the Black businesses in the state of Arkansas. And I'm just wondering, has anybody brought those three people together? And, you know, minority business pages, like, you know, maybe that's something that the chamber can produce for us, or whatever the case may be. I think there's some strategy that's got to go in there. I've been talking to some friends or whatever, and I was just like, you know, I'm here for the hashtags. I'm here for, you know, join the movement and stuff like that. I was like, but when protesting is no longer popular, like when the 90-day cycle is over, right? When protesting is no longer popular, when hashtag support a Black business is no longer popular, those are the people who are still doing it. Those are the people who are truly committed. And so I want to spend the time with those people to devise the plan to re-engage the 90-day cycle people, right? And further impact long-term change through voting and things like that. And so like, those are part of like that strategy, that intentionality, that unification that our people of color so desperately need right now.
Thank you, April. I'm gonna piggyback off of that, and I'm gonna have to read off my notes because I don't want to miss nothing. I don't want to run us over too much. But I was speaking with a gentleman the other day. He's a dreamer. He has this huge building that he's trying to build an innovation hub in Pine Bluff. But he acted off passion and doesn't have the administration part going on, right? But I'm going to try to repeat a quote he said, reasonable people accept the world as it is and they follow the rules. Unreasonable people try to change the world and expect the world to bend to them. So it is said that it is the unreasonable people that are responsible for the changes and the advances in the world. And so before that, I was proud to be a reasonable person. And then when he said that, I was like, well, you know, there's a way to channel that into the change, you know, that we all need. And I love being on the panel with you guys and hearing this, and even the rest of the audience as they, you know, act on the ideas that they've been sitting on, women of color or women of, or regular women too, I don't know. And I also want to say, Adora, that's why I love your program, the Be the Bridge, because it encourages those conversations. It encourages us to break up the color in the room. I thought it was such a great concept or phenomenon when I heard it. So I salute you for doing that and then sharing it with us, and even women's influencers for giving you the platform to spread it. I'm so excited to do some more work with you. And I do believe that it's going to take personal responsibility from everybody. As we said, this is probably not going to be a main leader movement, but as we reach out and have conversations and support each other, when I didn't grow up necessarily in a diverse neighborhood, and I grew up in an urban area. So when I came to Arkansas, I didn't know what to expect, right? but the interactions that I have with people have enlightened me, encouraged me, and inspired me. And so now when I go back home and people are, you know, throwing stereotypes on me, you know, then I'm in a place to correct them because I've made the connections where I can speak about it. I can be informed about breaking down those negative stereotypes that people are spreading. And hopefully, even in this space, I can break down negative stereotypes for people who have never interacted with a urban woman of color before. I'm switching gears here. I saw a t-shirt that I'm tempted to buy, and it says, I build my circle by character and not just color. And so even in our businesses, as we talk about women of color, and I hope that non-women of color don't feel slighted, because I feel like if you have a great character, people are going to support you anyway, regardless. So, let that shine out in your products and your services. I always like to have a contrasting personality, whatever service I'm doing. An example, like for my notary business, I usually promote nature stuff or outdoorsy stuff. And so somebody gave me the hashtag. It was actually Jessica from Silver Lake Studios, the Nature Loving Notary. And so now people recognize me as, because you can't really make notary interesting in social media or whatever, but it gives me, I think it gives me an edge in a personality. There's another lady, she does financial services and she likes to do tennis. So I'm like, hey, put that in there. Let people see that. Apryl, she does a lot of outdoorsy stuff. So even as a financial advisor, she's a connector of women on the side, and she does the outdoorsy stuff. So I'm saying to let that contrasting personality or quality shine in your product or service, so it adds depth to it, and people love to support that. And this is a whole nother conversation. Small businesses trying to promote with big box stores. You know, are we, like you were talking about, Apryl, combining resources? Are we going to try to compete with that? or are we just going to shine in our small business arena? All right, I think that's about it. Well, I am going to share resources for people. I found a lot of resources in these co-working spaces. I don't have to have an office. I don't have to bring people to my house, and I don't have to meet people in the Walmart parking lot to do my business. But co-working spaces give you the space to do that without having all of the overhead, and you meet the coolest people. You'll meet people on this panel in these co-working spaces that will help add to your business. So I'm going to add the ones that I know. And then even from the attorney and the administrative side, the Arkansas Business Engine and my virtual lawyer, and even the Unity Christian Fellowship Church, which I got tons of resources from when I was starting my business. And those resources really helped to elevate me in both places. So I'm going to share those with people. Thank you, guys.
Adora, before we run too much over on time, I want to address that last question. What advice can you give women who are just taking a leap into business?
Perfect.
And I want to reiterate, do not stand in the way of yourself. Whoever's watching, whoever's listening, take that leap of faith. Stop talking yourself out of it. Stop talking yourself down on it, and take that leap. Do it. Again, there can be 10 other people doing the exact same thing that you're doing, but they're not you. And there's a reason why you have that calling to do it. And then as soon as you take that leap, intentionally find the women, the businesses, the support that you need. So come to the chamber, come to the Innovation Hub, go to SBA, get all of these resources and do it. Mm-hmm. Stop talking yourself out of it and do it. So don't stand in your way. Mm-hmm. But also, I want to say right now, and this applies to all of you women, right now, whether it's business or politics, Black women are the most rapidly growing category group that are, whether it's politics, women of color are finally getting elected to these positions. They're running. And I don't care if you get elected or not, but you're taking that step and you're running for these offices. You're running for school board. You're running for superintendent. So stop standing in your way. Whatever your purpose is, do it. And let's get out there. Let's unite. Let's create a united front, get everybody at the same table, because we have I think all of us have said this on the call today, is that we have this organization doing this organization here, so many different pieces. How do we get everybody on one together at the same time?
Thank you, Tiffany. And so I am going to wrap this up. And when I finish what I have to say, I want every woman on this panel to just give a final word. So obviously, this came to me a couple weeks ago when we first started it, where someone had said, you can't have a conversation and solve all the world's problems. And so we can all agree that we know that, but it has to start somewhere, right? And so we hope that not only from the women that are on this panel, but those of you that are out there watching, that this has inspired you to self-inspect, to evaluate your business practices, to go and challenge people and speak up and have those conversations and get the ball rolling for sustainable change and for financial and business prosperity for all of us. And so with that, here's your homework. Tiffany and Vernice and I think Apryl, Key, and Sharee all mentioned about kind of having a directory, a diverse directory of different types of businesses. Your homework today is to kind of start making your own. Look at the businesses that you patronize and services that you're looking forward to, and start diversifying those businesses that you'll patronize. Find some new ones that you can support. And then not only do you support them, but especially if it's a great experience, go out there and leave them a review so that you can push further business their way. And so with that, I want to thank everyone who has tuned in for these past 5 weeks to these Women Come Togethers. I thank you so much, because I think we ended this month of July with this business conversation with a bang. I can't wait to share it with so many people in my community that are even outside of Arkansas. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. And so with that, ladies, what is your final note to those people out there that are watching?
Adora, do you mind if I start?
Absolutely, go for it.
I would say my final thought is that we definitely face great challenges, and those challenges are not new. They're not new. Every generation has faced great challenges, and we have those that we're facing right now. But don't underestimate the power, and I think April said this many times, don't underestimate the power of your purpose, your strengths, your talent, the unique things that you bring to your culture, your community, to the world, And so taking your resources and rejecting any narrative that keeps you from going forward, in spite of the obstacles that we face.
Two things that I would say really quickly is to embrace failure. Like if you look at all of the greats, I'm talking about all the greats, I don't care who they are, they failed over and over and over again. We see eagles soaring, we think, oh, they're so wonderful and beautiful, but we don't see when they're little how many times they fall out of the nest and get back up and keep trying. Embrace failure. Make that a part of everything that you do. Put that in place. Failure is not meant to stop us. Failure is meant to stretch us and grow us. So no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, make failure a part of the process. I promise you, you will fail hundreds of times, but when you win, you will win big if you embrace failure. The second thing that I want to say is don't allow fear to stop you and talk yourself into it. Every day I get up and I talk myself into it. My business is going to be the very best business because the only person that I'm competing against is myself. I think, who said it? Apryl, Sharee, somebody said that, but talk yourself into it every day. The only person that I'm competing against is absolutely myself. So I would say embrace failure and talk yourself into being successful.
Awesome, ladies. My advice is when you start your business or as you're starting your business, and as you were saying, Key, think big. Think as big as you want to be the Walmarts or whatever. And then as you start laying the pieces for your business, you lay them so that eventually you can hire people to take over those things. And that way you don't have to reinvent it, or you don't have to feel overwhelmed that you can't bring somebody in to help you as you evolve. Because if your business is going to be successful, eventually you're going to be at a place where you're not doing everything. You're going to be hiring and mentoring people to train them and then be the job creator and move into those different tax brackets. So, and yeah, you want to be careful about releasing proprietary information. So what I call myself doing is creating systems, I call them monkey steps, where I can just come in and train a monkey to do it. And then you can, as you develop a relationship and trust with that person, then you can start giving them more of the proprietary secrets or access to your client list and things like that. So, I say I'm not running a hustle, I'm running a business. So I'm gonna run it as a business. And I've learned to charge the prices for a business. You owe it to your clients to charge a price that allows you to reinvest money back into your business and support your lifestyle. Because if you start off with those cut dollar prices, then as your expertise grows and your price point is still there, you're going to start feeling resentful to your customers for not paying you what you deserve, but it's what you asked for in the beginning. And as a consumer, I don't necessarily want you to keep coming back up in the prices. I mean, I understand that there's going to happen, but I would rather pay for the service in the beginning. I understand that you're a growing business, and I'm feeding into it. I'm giving feedback, things like that. So go ahead and charge the prices where you're going to be next year, maybe, or something like that. Maybe you can run a promo, but build that into your pricing so you can afford to reinvest that back into your business to make it the best business it can be.
Okay, and it looks like we lost Apryl, but Miss Tiffany from the chamber, please give us our final word.
Thank you. So I'm going to say to everyone, I know we have a really diverse viewership on women's influencers. Embrace your culture, embrace diversity. You know, we all come from different backgrounds, different walks of life. Never assume when you're talking to someone, but embrace your uniqueness that makes you you. And I don't care what God you pray to, who you pray to. If you even pray, tap into your purpose and your calling. Really do what you're supposed to do. Divine intervention. What are you called to do? So tap into that. And when you tap into your calling, your purpose and passion, it all becomes this beautiful aligned path, and you're where you're supposed to be. And hopefully when you get aligned and you're walking in your purpose, everything falls into place.
Thank you. And we do have Apryl back, so we're actually going to give Apryl the final word before we close for this month. Go ahead.
Sorry, you guys. I don't know what happened, but very quickly, I'll say to kind of echo some of the things that the other ladies have said. Definitely pray. Definitely take time for self-care and self-assessment. As they tell you, you can't save others if you can't put the oxygen mask on somebody else if you can't breathe. And I'm preaching to the choir. Like, that's a daily conversation of you should stop and do that thing for yourself and then take care of everybody else. And then I'll just leave everyone with my favorite quote. The thing in life that messes us up the most is the picture of what it's supposed to look like inside of our heads, right? And so as you find your purpose, it may not look like what you thought, but as Key mentioned, you fail forward, you keep going. So as you walk that path after, as you're getting aligned and you walk that path and you try those things and you meet those people and you fail forward, it may not look like what you thought it was going to look like, or what what you feel like it's supposed to look like. I've got the degree, I got the building, I've got the family, I've got whatever. It may not look like what you thought or what you think it's supposed to, but it's still a beautiful adventure. And so you just have to have perspective. I'll leave us with that. Life is a beautiful adventure. Make sure that you challenge your perspective on it regularly.
Thank you so much. That was so awesome. In the comments, once the show is over, I will drop the business cards for all of these beautiful women that have joined us today. And again, thank you everyone for watching. Have a great week.